Welcome to the Powerline Podcast, the official podcast of GreyStone Power. I'm your host, Emily Young, and today we're speaking with the United Way of Greater Atlanta CEO, Milton J. Little Jr. So, let's get started on episode 60 of the Powerline Podcast. Have you heard of United Way? Their mission is to engage and bring together people and resources to drive sustainable and equitable improvements in the well-being of children, families, and individuals in the community. Today, I'm here with CEO Milton J. Little Jr., who is here to tell you more about the United Way of Greater Atlanta. Milton, welcome to the podcast. Tell us a little bit about your role at United Way.
Emily, it's a pleasure to be here. By title, the CEO and President, but I really think of myself as the chief connector and storyteller for the organization, connecting generous donors and nonprofits and others who are trying to make a difference in the community, and this telling stories about the impact that their giving and volunteering can have in all corners of Greater Atlanta.
Thanks for joining us. Can you tell us a little more about United Way? What is it and why is it important?
So think of United Way as a conductor of an orchestra. You know, the conductor doesn't play every instrument, but it brings talented musicians together to create beautiful harmony. United Way is not a pre-kindergarten organization. It's not a workforce organization. It's not a food pantry. But it brings all of those organizations together to create a strong foundation upon which better community and healthy families can thrive. And so we bring all of those resources of the community together to help people live their best lives.
What a great organization. How long has United Way been around, and when was the Greater Atlanta chapter founded?
So the United Way as a global network began in 1887 in Denver. The United Way in Atlanta began in 1905 in the height of what was called the worst ice storm in history at the beginning of that 20th century. And it started by a young attorney named Joseph Logan and a handful of people who went out in the middle of this ice storm to get food and fuel to help as many people as they could survive. And it's evolved into a fundraising organization and now is one of the premier community impact organizations in the country.
The United Way of Greater Atlanta has such a rich history. Did you know that GreyStone also has a long history with United Way? Can you tell us a little about that relationship and what this partnership means for your organization?
Absolutely. So we've been around 120 years. The partnership with GreyStone has been around for 30 years. I mean, it's an incredible partnership, and we can't say enough about how invaluable that partnership's been with us. We share the values of giving back to a community. How do you help people live their best lives? How do you create customized solutions to help the communities where GreyStone operates and where people live? And so that's what we do. And that partnership we have with GreyStone is one of the most important partnerships that we celebrate every year.
So, somebody told me that United Way of Greater Atlanta is celebrating 120 years this year. Can you elaborate on what this means for the organization?
Yeah, just imagine that, 120 years. That's 12 decades of service in Greater Atlanta. Generations of people that have been united to bring lasting change in the community. And it's just 12 decades of people who have looked to this United Way for help in every way that they could imagine. How they help their kids get strong, how do they find jobs, how do they erase some of the challenges that they are facing. And so we celebrated recently the 120 years, but we're also paying attention to what the next 120 years will look like and how we will continue to be a relevant and impactful organization in Greater Atlanta.
What an amazing legacy to be a part of. Speaking of our partnership, GreyStone just hosted an event with United Way that involved packing snacks. The project supported over 150 students in our community who face challenges accessing regular meals. Why are events like this important?
Emily, events like this are absolutely vital. They hit on so many different levels. They address immediate and critical needs. When you pack snacks for kids, you're dealing with kids who are facing food insecurity. You're not just filling their lunch bags, but you really send a powerful and undeniable message that the community really cares. And we're providing nourishment, but you also provide a sense of belonging and security. And these also foster community engagement. They build trust between communities, but they also build trust between GreyStone employees who get to know one another better and feel a sense of shared commitment to communities. And so, on many levels, these kinds of initiatives are vital, not only to the people who are going to be helped, but the people who are doing the helping.
It sounds similar to our initiative, GreyStone Gives, where we go out in the community and host events where we participate in different events, such as reading to elementary schools or packing lunches for a different organization. What's been your favorite event that you've participated in?
Oh, yeah, I wish I could say there was just one event. I know the impact that Greystone's efforts a couple of weeks ago had in Douglas County at Beulah and Winston Elementary School. But I can also say that I've been to graduations of people who are getting out of workforce programs. They put a cap and a gown on. It was the first time they ever graduated from anything in their lives, and their families were incredibly proud. I've been to preschool programs and read to kids and had kids that are 2 and 3 and 4 years old crawl in my laps and give me kisses for showing up. I've seen homeless women who hadn't been to a doctor in decades finally get off the street and into a safe place to live. I can't say what the most important, most impactful event or thing I've ever been a part of through United Way, because every day brings something new and something even more personally meaning to me.
That must be an amazing feeling to be able to experience with the community. Can you give us an update? What's been happening with United Way in Greystone's service area, which includes Paulding and Douglas counties?
We have been proud to be a partner with Greystone in something that we have been pioneering for a couple of years that we've now brought to Douglas and Paulding County, and that's called the Kids Home Initiative. Many people don't know that public schools all across greater Atlanta are filled with kids who, despite being homeless, are still showing up to school every day. The numbers of kids across the region that are going to school every day but don't have a safe and consistent place to live is almost appalling. And so what we've been able to do with Greystone is launch this Kids Home Initiative. The fundamental purpose is to help stabilize kids in their living situation so that they don't move from school to school during the school year and run the risk of not ever graduating from high school, not succeeding in school. There are more than 40% of households across greater Atlanta that are just income challenged. People working every day, but just don't make enough to pay all their bills to ensure that they've got a safe place to live. And so the Kids Home Initiatives really focused on those kinds of families and making sure they can stabilize. Greystone gave us $50,000 that was matched with funds from a foundation. And now we're helping up to 40 families through June 26 to help them stabilize their lives and help these kids stay in school and succeed.
Greystone always strives to make life better in the communities we serve. Now, can you give us a glimpse into the life at United Way? What's your favorite part about working there?
Emily, my favorite part about working at United Way is the people, both inside the organization and outside the organization. Every day, I get to work with some incredibly passionate people who are deeply committed to making a difference, who've made a decision that United Way is the place for them, where they can find meaning in their daily work, where they can know every night that they've made a difference in the lives of somebody somewhere across greater Atlanta. And then on the other hand, I get to meet folks like people from GreyStone and others who are committed to being the best citizens they can and doing what they can to help make life better for other folks. And imagine my day as being the person in the middle of that and trying to bring my people, my employees, the GreyStone folks, donors from other communities and companies, all together around a shared purpose of how we make Greater Atlanta the best place possible for everybody who lives here. It can't be any better a job and a calling than that.
Thank you so much for being here today. Okay, so we always ask everybody the same last question. Is there anything else you'd like to tell our members?
You know what I would like to tell each person at GreyStone, Emily, is that your donation every year, whether it is time, talent, or treasure, makes a difference. I know it's sometimes hard to imagine if I make $100 donation, is that really going to make a difference? I just need folks to know that your support matters. Every single dollar, every single hour that you volunteer is part of a formula that changes lives across Greater Atlanta. Please do not underestimate the value of your individual bit of effort because it really, really is life-changing. I've got thousands of stories right at my fingertips that hopefully will convince you that you and what you do truly make a difference in this community. So thank you, GreyStone, for all you have done and all you will continue to do to make Greater Atlanta a better place to live.
Unfortunately, we're all out of time for today's episode. Make sure to check us out on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and X. And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast, available on our website, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Thanks for joining us for episode 60. We'll catch you next time on the Powerline Podcast.